Before we begin, I gotta show you something that's absolutely hilarious to me, okay? So here I am at the menu for the Nightmare Frame boss battle event, right? Where you select the battles you want to do. If you select this button right here, look at this, okay? It shows the half anniversary advertisements. You gotta be kidding me, okay? This game is full of so many goddamn bugs, and they couldn't even show just the basic information about this Nightmare Frame boss battle event, and instead has information about the half anniversary. I mean, taking this into consideration with all the other bugs, bad translations, 1 week events, what the hell is going on with these guys? It's just so stupid. Half anniversary advertisements here. Is there a quality assurance team for Kogias Lost Stories? Because it seems like there isn't one, and they just ship out content as fast as they can. I was really hoping during that period of time when there was no content that they were going to go back and fix the bugs, but apparently that's not the case. And then people wonder why this game may not last much longer when you don't have people you have people who simply don't give a fuck working on this game. So, and for someone who's been playing this game for a while, it's frustrating to see. This is why I canceled my gold pass like months ago, because what am I paying for exactly? Subpar service? I mean, just hire me. I'll be your quality assurance guy. I'll look through all the translations. Heck, just tell me to look through anything new you add, and I'll point out all the things that I find. I've done quality assurance before. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Anyways, let's actually get to the new Sutherlands that we're getting as part of the Nightmare Frame boss battle event, Golden Week, and the new C2. So let's start with the Sutherland. Okay, so here's the new Sutherland. Let's go to the awards to see what it does. By the way, it's not doing the T-pose, so at least they fixed that. Here it is. So the new Sutherland has 7 for its cost, 180 defense, 230 attack, only attacks a single enemy, which is fine. The ability, or the special ability, says it can be activated upon placement and at fixed intervals thereafter, meaning it has to passively charge. Attacks 3 enemies within range at 3.75 times your attack power and increases your deployment points by 3. So this Sutherland essentially turns every single pilot as a bomb because its skill gauge fills up to 100% on deployment. So you can do a lot of damage that way. Plus it gives you 3 cost every time you use it, which is great. The only thing I don't like about this Nightmare Frame is the fact that it has to passively charge, but you're not going to use it for that purpose anyways. You're going to use it for your cost increasers on deployment, or your buffers, deep buffers, and so forth. Basically any pilot with a fast redeployment time. I suppose you could use it on pilots that don't have a fast redeployment time, but that's not really what it was designed for, in my opinion. It's still one of the best Nightmare Frames in the game, even on the Japanese side, because again, it turns every Nightmare Frame pilot into a bomb, and increasing your cost by 3 is something that is still really useful even now. So this is one of the best Nightmare Frames in the game, really ahead of its time, and definitely worth partaking in this Nightmare Frame boss battle event to acquire. The only thing I don't like about it, again, is the passive charge. I guess the defense isn't that great, and the attack power is not good either, but it is a Sutherland, so what were you expecting? I know later on in the game, 230 times, was it 3.75 times your attack power is not the best, but who cares? You're getting the 3 costs, and you can keep using this Nightmare Frame over and over again, turning all your pilots into bombs. I'm starting to sound redundant. You get the idea. Let's move on now to the Golden Sutherland that you can get from the Golden Week. Okay, here's the shop, and that's where you purchase it, in case you didn't know. Let's go to the actual Sutherland itself. Here it is. It's got 280 defense. It costs 10, doesn't block, has a long range weapon of 200 attack, and hits a single enemy unit. The one thing that probably stands out the most is it has no skill. Now, when this Nightmare Frame was first announced, I was pretty hyped about it because I figured, hey, a 280 defense Nightmare Frame would be good for healers, right? Well, wrong. It's not that good. This Nightmare Frame proved my initial theory about this game to be true, which is you should never invest in a Nightmare Frame that does not have a Nightmare Frame skill, because no matter how strong it is, not having access to a skill significantly weakens it. The problem with this Nightmare Frame is that the attack power is just too low and it only attacks one enemy at a time. So it's not that great for healers because you can only heal one of your pilots at a time. The 280 defense is okay, but I would have preferred maybe 240 base attack or 250 base attack. That would have made this Nightmare Frame a lot better. But 200 is just, well, too little. And because of that, this Nightmare Frame is just not worth it. So does that mean you shouldn't spend your resources to buy the golden Sutherland pieces? That's going to be up to you. I don't think it's worth it. I'll probably end up doing it for the lulz, but if you're seriously competitive in this game, I'm not sure why you would. The other items seem to be a lot better, but again, it's totally up to you. I'm just saying that this is a Nightmare Frame that in theory you think would be good, but in reality it just isn't because it doesn't have a Nightmare Frame skill. That being said though, I guess you can find some uses for it in maybe the hard missions, but not the extra missions, I suppose, where it might be useful. I think it might be more of a win more than something you actually want to use for the really hard missions. One time I actually tried to do that and I got cooked badly, so that taught me the hard way this Nightmare Frame is just not that good. I'll leave it for you to decide, but this is one of those Nightmare Frames that had a lot of potential, but unfortunately never lived up to it. Now let's talk about the brand new C2, which you can get as part of the Nightmare Frame Boss Battle event. Okay, so here's the new C2, and by the way, just one thing about the Golden Sutherland, when I was going through the menus to get to the new C2, I briefly looked at the shop, and honestly, you're better off just buying the Golden Sutherland pieces. There's not much to buy in general, so I guess it's not that much of a waste to do it. Anyways, let's talk about the new C2. She is a rank 4 strategy type pilot. She has 355 health, which is pretty good, cost 2, faster deployment time. To her abilities, let's beat our school rivals. So on deployment, increase the defense and max health of all your allied units within range, excluding this one by 35% for 20 seconds. And she has a deployment shortening ability, as it says, upon placement, shortens the standby time of all pilots waiting to be redeployed, by 25%. I believe it goes to 30 if her skill goes to level 5. So this C2 is really good. A couple things I like about her is that she has a fast redeployment time. She costs 2, which is excellent, and her attack power is relatively high for a strategy type pilot, same with her health. Usually those pilots don't have good stats because you're not really meant to keep them on the battlefield for too long. Obviously you have exceptions like Maribel, but they're few and far between. Now you're probably wondering, is this ability better than the Anniversary Rakshata or the 0.5 Anniversary Rakshata? And the answer is technically no, because she reduces the shortening time by 50% and C2 only does by 30%. But Rakshata costs way more to deploy compared to C2. I mean, just combine this C2 with Millie and it costs nothing to deploy her. Obviously, her Nightmare Frame will change that. So you have to consider that comparing the two characters. Also, Rakshata not only lowers the redeployment time of everyone waiting to be redeployed, but she also has a passive version of that. So it's 50% on deployment, but also just 30% in general. So it's much better than this C2, but if you didn't get Rakshata, this C2 is the next best thing. And what's great about this C2 is that they are going to release future Nightmare Frames that will boost her to level 5 that won't cost as much like the Gwaine. For example, there's the Akatsuki Command model, and eventually we'll get the Lancelot Frontier. Those Nightmare Frames are really helpful, and I will further make this C2 even better down the road. Now, she's part of the Ashford faction, which is kind of annoying because you can't use her with the Black Knights, unlike Rakshata, but then again, that does boost the Ashford faction, so never a bad thing to have. Of course, in most cases, this is not a problem, but it's something that I wanted to point out. The only thing about this C2 that I don't like, I guess, is the low durability. Other than that though, she's a really good pilot, very solid. The shortening of the redeployment time is extremely helpful. The defense and max health increase is fine. I'm not sure I would ever use it as much as the shortening of the redeployment time, but hey, it could definitely come in handy as well. The point is she's a pretty powerful pilot for buffing your allies and getting your buffers and cost increasers on the battlefield as fast as possible. Now, is she worth pulling for? Well, in my opinion, not really, because we are close to the first year anniversary and those pilots are way better. But hey, if you got a lot of extra Sakuradite and you didn't get a chance to get Anniversary Rakshata, this is simply the next best thing that you can do. So there you have it, and if you want more videos like this, I recently did a tier list for all the pilots and Nightmare Frames for May and June, and you can watch those videos right here.